In the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields that stretch on for miles, stands an old, forgotten house. It looms over the landscape like a shadow from a time that never quite passed. The windows are dark, the paint is peeling, and the wind whistles through the cracks in the walls, carrying with it the scent of dust and something long since gone. A moving truck pulls into the driveway, its rumbling engine breaking the stillness. Today, the house is expecting guests. A family of 3 has come to start anew, to escape the city and find peace. They have no idea what this house holds, no idea of the history hidden in its walls. But that's the thing about old places, isn't it? They never truly forget. The Parkers step out of the truck, their movements slow, hesitant. Wendy, the mother, scans the property with a look of doubt. Charles, the father, busy on his phone, barely notices the house. Marcus, their teenage son, is the last to leave the truck, his headphones clamped to his ears, blocking out the world. They're here, but not really here. Wendy wants to believe in fresh starts, but doubt clings to her like a shadow. Charles is distracted, lost in the hum of his work, even out here. And Marcus? Well, Marcus is in his own world, headphones on, lost in music that drowns out reality. The family slowly moves toward the house, unaware of the faint flicker of movement in the windows above. A curtain shifts, though no one seems to notice. But there's more to this house than meets the eye. The air is thick here, almost heavy. The kind of weight that comes from something unseen, something waiting. This house has been empty for years, but it's never truly been alone. As they enter the house, the door creaks open slowly, almost welcoming them in. Dust floats lazily through the shafts of light breaking through the cracked windows. For years, this house was quiet. The Maitlands, the original owners, were gentle souls. After their untimely death, they stayed behind, haunting their home, but with a kind, almost timid touch. They just wanted to be left alone, to exist in their quiet afterlife. That is, until another family came. A family with a taste for the bizarre. The Dietzes. The scene shifts to brief, blurry images of the Dietzes. Lydia, their daughter, stands solemn at the window, eyes wide, staring into the unseen world around her. Lydia Dietz was different. She could see what others could not. The dead spoke to her, and she listened. She made peace with the ghosts of this house. But even then, there was something deeper, darker. The house creaks under the weight of the new residents. Wendy and Charles begin unpacking, their movements quick but strained. Marcus, in his room, pulls off his headphones and lies back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The Parker family, though, they don't believe in ghosts. They don't believe in anything they can't see or touch. And that's the thing about the dead. They don't care whether you believe or not. They're still here, still waiting. As the night falls, shadows stretch longer in the hallways. The house feels alive. The air seems to hum with energy, low and constant, like the steady breath of something waiting to be stirred. Night is when the house is at its most awake, when the whispers start, when the unseen makes itself known, and tonight is no different. In the dead of night, Marcus hears it first, a soft creaking sound, like footsteps, but slower, more deliberate. He rolls over in bed, dismissing it as the wind, but the noise grows louder. Something is moving through the house. The camera lingers on the darkness outside Marcus's door, where a faint shadow flickers before vanishing. Marcus sits up in bed, confused, but more curious than scared. But curiosity, as they say, can be dangerous, especially in a house like this. Marcus, unable to sleep, gets up and wanders through the house. He makes his way up the stairs, past his parents' bedroom, and toward the attic door at the end of the hall. It's old, locked, covered in dust, but somehow it feels like it's calling him. In every house like this, there's always an attic, always a place where the past is kept, forgotten, or at least meant to be forgotten. The door creaks open, revealing the attic, dim, dusty, cluttered with old boxes and covered furniture. Marcus steps inside, his flashlight casting long shadows across the room. And then he finds it. The book. Old, leather-bound, and heavy. The letters on the cover are faded, but still legible. Handbook for the recently deceased. He doesn't know it yet, but this book, it's an invitation. Marcus flips through the pages, fascinated by the strange illustrations and even stranger text. It's no ordinary book. And once you open it, once you start reading, things begin to happen. And here we go. The voice is low, gravelly, and far too close. It's him, the one you never want to call, the one you never ever want to say out loud. But Marcus doesn't know that yet. Not until it's too late. The wind picks up again, stronger this time, whipping around the room. Dust swirls in the air, forming shapes, faces, all of them laughing, cackling. And then suddenly the laughter stops. That's when Marcus hears the name. The one name you should never speak. The words seem to echo around him, though no one's there to say them. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And just like that, the air grows still. For a moment, everything is quiet. Too quiet. And then, in the blink of an eye, he's there. The scene shifts to a sudden explosion of energy as Beetlejuice appears, chaotic and larger than life. He's back, the ghost with the most. Beetlejuice. He's been waiting for this. Waiting for someone foolish enough to summon him. And now that he's here, there's no going back. Beetlejuice struts around the attic, cracking jokes, shifting into strange forms, his energy manic and uncontrollable. But Marcus doesn't know what he's done. Not yet. For now, he's just in shock. He's opened the door, let Beetlejuice back into the world, and all hell is about to break loose. Beetlejuice, amused by Marcus's confusion, turns to the boy, grinning. He doesn't waste any time. Beetlejuice never does. He's here for a reason, and that reason is chaos. Marcus stumbles backward, dropping the book. Beetlejuice snaps his fingers, and the attic begins to warp, transforming into a twisted, carnival-like space, complete with spinning furniture and walls that shift and change shape. And the house? It's alive now, too. With Beetlejuice free, the house is his playground, a canvas for his madness. Beetlejuice's laughter echoes through the walls as the house contorts, warping reality itself. The walls bend, stretch, and twist. Doors appear and disappear. Lights flicker on and off, casting eerie shadows. But it's not just Marcus who's caught in this. Wendy and Charles, still fast asleep, are about to be dragged into the nightmare too. As Beetlejuice's chaos spreads, the house shifts around the sleeping parents, their rooms twisting into bizarre, surreal landscapes. Wendy wakes first, disoriented, as her bed seems to float above an endless void. There's no escape now, not for any of them. The Parkers thought they were just moving into an old house, but what they really did was walk into the mouth of madness. Beetlejuice, now fully in control, prowls through the house, his grin wide and wild, as Marcus, Wendy, and Charles try to navigate the shifting maze. And the worst part? This is just the beginning. The camera zooms out as Beetlejuice, standing at the center of the chaos, throws his arms wide, laughing maniacally as the house continues to warp and twist around him. They've unleashed something they can't control. Beetlejuice is back, and this time, he's not leaving without a fight. The scene fades to black as Beetlejuice's laughter echoes, his voice growing louder and louder until it fills the entire house, reverberating off the walls and rattling the windows. But what happens when the living can no longer escape the dead? When the line between the two worlds crumbles and chaos reigns supreme? The Parkers are about to find out. Marcus runs through the hallways, the walls shifting around him. Doors appear where they shouldn't, and staircases lead to nowhere. He stumbles, nearly falling, as the house twists and contorts into an impossible labyrinth. Reality has unraveled. Beetlejuice is at the helm now, pulling strings that stretch far beyond the material world. For Marcus, Wendy, and Charles, this nightmare is only just beginning. Wendy, lost in the surreal maze of the house, hears Beetlejuice's voice echoing all around her, taunting, laughing. She runs down a hallway that seems to stretch endlessly, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Fear is a funny thing. It makes us run, makes us believe we can escape. But in a house ruled by a spirit like Beetlejuice, there is no escape. Wendy turns a corner, only to find herself back where she started. The same hallway, the same impossible architecture looping her in circles. And so, the house becomes a prison. A place where every turn leads back to the beginning, where every step draws them deeper into Beetlejuice's web. Charles, who has finally woken up, stumbles out of his room, his phone still in hand. He tries to dial out for help, but the screen flickers, and strange symbols appear, incomprehensible and shifting. Technology is no match for the supernatural. In Beetlejuice's world, the rules of the living don't apply. Well, Charles is about to learn that the hard way. Charles looks up from his phone, realizing the walls around him are closing in, shrinking with every second. He turns, trying to run, but the hallway collapses behind him, forcing him forward. In this house, Beetlejuice plays by his own rules, and as the walls close in, Charles is left with no choice but to confront the madness head-on. Beetlejuice appears again, this time in front of Marcus, who's backed into a corner, his eyes wide with fear. Beetlejuice grins, leaning in close. But Beetlejuice doesn't just want chaos, he wants an audience. And Marcus? Marcus is the perfect captive. Beetlejuice snaps his fingers, and the world around them changes once again. The house fades into a twisted version of a carnival, spinning rides, blinking neon lights, and grotesque clowns that laugh hysterically. Welcome to the show, kid. Beetlejuice doesn't just haunt, he performs. And you're about to be front and center. As Marcus stands frozen, Wendy and Charles are drawn together, pulled by invisible forces to the center of the madness. They find each other in the heart of the carnival, surrounded by flashing lights and impossible sounds. For the Parkers, this is no longer just a haunted house, it's a stage. And Beetlejuice, he's the ringmaster. Beetlejuice appears above them, floating in mid-air, his arms outstretched, basking in the chaos he's created. The living and the dead, trapped together in a nightmare of their own making. There's no escaping Beetlejuice's world now. He's too strong, too wild, and there's only one way out. Suddenly, a flicker of hope appears. Lydia Dietz. Older now, dressed in black as always, she steps through the madness, her eyes set on Beetlejuice. Ah, but every trickster has their match. Lydia Dietz knows this world, knows Beetlejuice, and she's come to put an end to his reign of terror, once and for all. Lydia approaches Marcus, Wendy, and Charles, her presence calm and grounded in the chaos. She speaks softly, though the words are lost in the noise. Sometimes the answer to chaos is understanding. Lydia sees what the Parkers cannot, that Beetlejuice, for all his power, is bound by the rules of the spirit world. And if you know those rules, you can turn the game against him. Beetlejuice, sensing her presence, turns to face Lydia, his grin faltering for the first time. She holds up the handbook for the recently deceased, the same book Marcus found earlier. The book holds the key. It always has. But using it requires more than just reading. It requires conviction. It requires belief. Lydia opens the book, the pages glowing faintly as she speaks words of incantation. Beetlejuice recoils, his form flickering, distorting. Beetlejuice, the spirit who thrives on chaos, can be controlled, bound, if only someone has the will to do it. As Lydia continues the incantation, the carnival around them begins to fade. The lights dim, the rides slow, and the grotesque clowns vanish into smoke. With every word, Beetlejuice's hold on the house weakens. The Parker family watches in awe as the world of madness begins to crumble. Beetlejuice snarls, trying to resist, but it's no use. Lydia's control over the book is too strong. With one final word, Beetlejuice is pulled into the void, vanishing with a scream that echoes through the halls. And just like that, he's gone. The chaos is over. The house, once alive with madness, is still once more. The Parkers stand in the now silent house, the walls back to their normal, old but grounded state. They exchange glances, unsure of what just happened, but grateful it's over. But in a house like this, the quiet never lasts for long. Beetlejuice may be gone for now, but this is his game, and games, they never truly end. The camera pans up to the attic, where the handbook for the recently deceased lies on the floor, untouched. And in the distance, barely audible, is the faintest hint of laughter. Beetlejuice is never gone for good, not as long as someone, somewhere, says his name. 3 times is all it takes. 3 little words. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. The camera cuts to black, the laughter growing louder. And so the cycle begins again. Until next time. The screen fades, the sound of Beetlejuice's manic laughter the last thing we hear.